Good morning, everyone. Actually, good afternoon. If you could give us just a minute or two, we'll let the others join and then we'll go ahead and get started today. If you've just now joined us, give us about another minute. We'll let everybody else get logged in and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Vendor Pre-Proposal Conference for Law Enforcement, Surveillance, and Security Monitoring Technology Products and Services, RFO DIR CPO TMP 594. We are glad to have you with us today. Before we get started, let's cover a couple housekeeping items. Just a reminder that you can change your audio by switching between computer and phone. We want to remind everybody that everybody is muted this morning, but if you have questions or if you have something to address with the group, please open your Q&A box and put your questions in there, and we'll take time to answer those as we go today. But before we get started, if you would, please raise your hands real quick and let us know that you can hear us pretty clearly this afternoon so that we have good audio connection. All right, thank you for that. Also, we'll be making a handout available after the webinar ends. The speakers today are going to be Stephanie Harrison, Director of Cooperative Procurements, Scott Wilson, Procurement Lead, Vanya Raymakers, Procurement Lead, Teresa Williamson, Hub Program Director, Marie Cohan, Statewide Digital Accessibility Officer. On the agenda today, under the RFO, we'll be doing the RFO Overview, RFO Contents, RFO Scope, Evaluation Criteria, Term of Contracts, Schedule, Hub, Pricing Sheet, Digital Accessibility. Then we'll be moving on to General Information, Bid Stamp Vendor Information System Portal Overview, Mandatory Submissions. Then we'll take about a 10-minute break, questions from the Q&A box, and then the conference closing. Now I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Scott.
Thank you, Patty. Appreciate that. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time for joining us this afternoon for the Law Enforcement Pre-Solicitation Conference. So just to start off, let's go over real quick this slide for the RFO overview. So the purpose of this request for offer is to solicit responses from potential respondents to provide law enforcement, surveillance, and security monitoring technology products and services to the state of Texas, acting by and through the Department of Information Resources. DIR may make multiple awards to this RFO, as we typically do. And lastly, this is a subsequent procurement from DIR-CPO-TMP-594, which was titled Law Enforcement, Surveillance, and Security Monitoring, Emergency Preparedness, Disaster Recovery, Technology Products, and Services. Next slide, please, Patty. Thank you. So this slide provides a brief overview of the historical sales for the DIR Cooperative Contract Program. As you will see, in FY 2022, we had a little over 3 billion in sales. In 2023, went up to about 4 billion. And then again in FY 2024, the sales were over 3.4 billion. And if I could direct your attention to the bottom for those fiscal year sales on the bottom, these were all sales that were tied specifically to RFO 443. In FY 2022, we had 37,402,166 of sales. FY 23, we had 54,392,148. And then lastly, in FY 2024, we had 57,576,000 and some change. And again, I would like to, as I mentioned in the previous slide, these sales are combined with law enforcement as well as emergency preparedness and disaster recovery products and services. So even though those two are now two separate RFOs, these sales do combine both of those RFOs since they are both part of RFO 443. Next slide, please. All right, so some of the RFO contents that you will see is the RFO document itself, DIR-CPO-TMP-594. It also will contain two attachments, 1 and 2, as well as exhibits A through K. So attachment 1 is the sample master cooperative contract that we'll be negotiating with if you are do make it into negotiations. Attachment 2 is the standard contract terms and conditions that we also refer to as Appendix A. And then the exhibits. So Exhibit A is the response certification form. Exhibit A1 is the exceptions table. Exhibit B is the respondent history and experience. Exhibit C, the contract marketing and customer support plan. Exhibit D, the sample hub subcontracting plan, also known as the HSP. Exhibit E, the itemized pricing sheet. Exhibit F, reference forms. Next slide, please. Thank you. And then continuing on, Exhibit G, the respondent release of liability. Exhibit H, and Exhibit H, the Edgar certification form. And then these last three are all tied to accessibility. So Exhibit I is a policy-driven adoption for accessibility, also known as a PDAA, or vendor self-assessment. Exhibit J, the voluntary product accessibility template, also known as the VPAT. And lastly, Exhibit K, the vendor accessibility development services information request, known as the VETSIR. Next slide, please. All right, on to RFO contents. Next slide, please. All right, so this is where we're going to go into a little more detail about all of the attachments and exhibits. As I had said previously, the sample contract, we're providing that just as a sample. So if you are chosen down the road to move into contract negotiations, you'll have an idea of what the contract will be looking like overall. And then attachment 2 also provides you an example of our standard terms and conditions, also known as our Appendix A. Next slide, please. All right, so Exhibit A, the response certification. You will be disqualified if this is not completed and signed. Please, if you complete it, please complete it and make sure you do sign the form. This form must be filled out in its entirety and signed by an officer or agent empowered to contractually bind the respondent. Complete canceled contract references forms if applicable. And again, please do not forget to sign that form because that will serve as a disqualification. So Exhibit A1, again, is the exceptions table. And this is in Exhibit A, Section 4, and it addresses whether the respondent has exceptions. If you do, or if the respondent does, the respondent will fill out this form as in its entirety and as instructed in RFO section 3.7.3.5. Moving on to Exhibit B, the respondent history and experience. This is a scored exhibit. This is part of the evaluations that we'll be conducting based on your RFO response. So the respondent must provide a detailed response to each question detailing the respondent's history and experience in providing the products and services proposed. However, on a caution, we'd like to mention is respondent's response may be disqualified if any exceptions are excessive in Exhibit A1. Next slide, please. Thank you. Moving on to Exhibit C, the Contract Marketing and Customer Support Plan. This exhibit is also scored as part of the evaluation process. Respondent must provide a plan that describes the respondent's ability and strategy for promoting and supporting the contract if awarded. Exhibit D, the historically underutilized business HSP form sample. Respondents must provide an HSP form as instructed in section 3.4.1 in the RFO titled Hub Subcontracting Plan. And then item B of the RFO. Vendors must download the latest form using the link provided under item B. All right, and moving on to Exhibit E, the itemized pricing sheet. The respondent must submit specific pricing for products and services requested. Respondent must respond as instructed in Exhibit E, itemized pricing sheet, the spreadsheet. Please make sure you follow all instructions as we'll cover later on. Next slide, please. All right, moving on to Exhibit F, the vendor references. Respondent must send the Exhibit F reference form to a minimum of 3 companies or government agencies. The references must respond to DIR on the form provided by the due date in order to be considered for an evaluation. Respondent may not submit the reference form directly to DIR. It must be submitted by your references. Exhibit G, the respondent release of liability for references. For each entity that an Exhibit F reference form is sent to, respondent shall also complete with the response a signed RFO Exhibit G, respondent release of liability. So make sure this is part of your RFO response. And then Exhibit H, the Edgar certification form. Respondents must provide the Edgar certification form as requested in RFO section 3.5.1 under federal requirements of this RFO. Next slide, please. All right, Exhibit I. So these next 3 exhibits are all accessibility related. Exhibit I is the PDAA. This is, again, stands for Policy-Driven Adoption for Accessibility. So the respondent must complete the PDAA for self-assessment regardless of products and services in the RFO response. So again, this is a self-assessment. It is required. Every respondent must fill out and complete this form in its entirety. Exhibit J, the VPAT. Respondent must provide an accessibility conformance report, also known as the ACR, or VPAT, and it must be completed again in its entirety for all commercial off-the-shelf, also known as COTS products. And then lastly, Exhibit K, the VATSIR for non-COTS items. Respondent must provide a completed vendor accessibility development services information request, again also known as the VATSIR, for all proposed development services listed in Exhibit E, the itemized price sheet. Next slide, please. All right, so now we will talk a little bit more about the RFO scope. Next slide, please. All right, so DIR intends to contract with successful respondents to provide law enforcement, surveillance, and security monitoring technology products and services. Respondents are responsible for ensuring the products and services proposed are within scope of this RFO. Respondents may submit an offer based on any one or combination of technologies that is within the solicitation's scope. Lastly, DIR may modify the scope of this RFO through an addendum. Respondents are responsible for monitoring the Electronic State Business Daily, also known as the ESBD, for addendum updates and making any necessary adjustments to its response. Next slide, please. All right, so section 2.1.1 of the RFO, this covers the products that are within scope. So the products may include, but are not limited to, um, under Part A, we have law enforcement hardware, software, and/or solutions. And some examples here are body-worn cameras, in-car equipment, vehicle-mounted equipment, back-end storage solutions, license plate recognition, vehicle tracking tools, electronic citation systems. Next slide, please. And then continued on, some examples for detectors for law enforcement. We have metal detectors, bomb detection equipment, cell phone detectors, X-ray scanning equipment, sound detection equipment. And then moving on to item C, law enforcement robots. This includes bomb disposal robots as well as conducting different types of reconnaissance. Next slide, please. All right, so staying with the products, um, some examples of public safety hardware, software, and/or solutions are police radar, or LiDAR speed enforcement, speed advisory systems, parts, and accessories, and then the electronic citation systems. And then E, unmanned vehicles. Some examples include like drones, unmanned aerial vehicles, unmanned ground vehicles, remotely operated vehicles. Next slide, please. And then unmanned aircraft systems, unmanned underwater vehicles, and lastly, counter drones. And then moving on to examples of imaging systems for unmanned vehicles, this would be like HD high definition cameras, embedded cameras, thermal cameras, infrared camera sensors, and image capture systems. Next slide, please. All right, and moving on to surveillance and security monitoring. We have video surveillance systems, security detection systems, various access control systems, burglar alarm systems, fire extinguishing systems, fire sprinkler systems, fire alarm systems, and lastly, protective signaling systems. Next slide, please. And then, a few more examples, sorry, are the high security control systems, biometric authentication systems, and then biometric identification systems. And then moving on to electronic monitoring, some examples of products in scope are inmate tracking, radio frequency monitoring, alcohol monitoring, satellite monitoring, and then remote tracking. Next slide, please. All right, and then some other items include items such as inmate kiosk and communications, social media tracking and different monitoring tools, classroom and school bus monitoring and surveillance. Now moving on to the telematics products in accordance with the Association of Equipment Professionals. The current standards, and this includes vehicle tracking, trailer tracking, container tracking, fleet management. Next slide, please. Satellite navigation, wireless vehicle safety communications, emergency warning systems for vehicles, and lastly, intelligent vehicle technologies, for instance, for road transportation, road safety sensors, instruments, etc. All right, so now moving on to section 2.1.2 services. This is more or less a sort of a repeat of the products, so I'm not going to go list every one of these. I just did it this way because I wanted to communicate that pretty much every one of these products does have some type of services component to it. So the services may include, but not limited to, again, the law enforcement robot services, including the bomb disposal services and reconnaissance services. Next slide, please. All right, and then moving on to services for unmanned vehicles. These are services for the drones. Again, the unmanned vehicles, the remotely operated vehicles, the unmanned aircraft systems, the unmanned water vehicles, and services for counter drones. Next slide, please. And then, of course, for the imaging systems for unmanned vehicles, the different services that could be offered are for HD cameras, the embedded cameras, and thermal cameras, infrared cameras, and imaging capture systems. And then the surveillance and security monitoring services. This includes services for video surveillance as well as security detection services. Next slide, please. And also included are services for access control, the burglar alarm, fire extinguisher, and on down to protective signaling and biometric authentication and biometric identification services. Next slide, please. And then services for electronic monitoring, as you can see there listed, inmate tracking, the satellite monitoring, remote tracking, and other various offender services. These are different services for the inmate kiosk and communication systems, as well as the social media tracking and monitoring tools services. Next slide, please. All right, and again, services for classroom and school bus monitoring. And then lastly, the telematics products. Again, this is a repeat of the products, but services that are offered or can be offered with this item entail the vehicle tracking, the trailer tracking, fleet management, as well as the wireless safety communications. Next slide, please. All right. And then some of the services continued for that would be the emergency warning systems, as well as the intelligent vehicles. And the last services mentioned here is the data breach and identity theft monitoring services. All right, now moving on to section 2.1.2.1, also known as the product related services. And some of these items could also be included in the previous services that I mentioned, but to go more specifically into the actual related services part of this, could include installation, warranty, any maintenance services, support services, any type of training services. Next slide, please. All right, so moving on to section 2.2 of the RFO, this includes some exclusions or items that are considered out of scope for this RFO. So the first item is products and services that are not advertised in this RFO in the NIGP code commodity codes table on the title page of this RFO. So if you were thinking about proposing any items that are not matching to these NIGP codes, it's going to most likely or will be considered, I should say, out of scope. Um, so moving on to related services only, including installation, maintenance, support, training, etc., without also an associated product or service that is considered within scope. Custom application development services, deliverables-based information technology services, also known as DBITS, any type of cloud broker services, cloud assessment services, and lastly, professional or consulting services as defined by Chapter 2254 of the Texas Government Code. Right. Next slide, please. All right, and then some of the last exclusions out of scope items are products identified on the state of Texas prohibited software applications developers list And below is that link that I advise all respondents to go to and view that. We'll be providing these slides in an addendum afterwards, so you'll have access to this link if you haven't jotted it down right now. But I do advise that all respondents go to this link and get familiar with it. And then lastly, telecommunication services, including any telecommunication services offered in a contract award by DIR under a Texas agency network, also known as Texan procurement. Next slide, please. All right, so now we will discuss the evaluation criteria. Next slide, please. All right, so RFO section 4.2.1, the pass-fail criteria. All right, so the items that are considered pass-fail are incomplete response package, which will be rejected, the financial review, accessibility review, and HSP reviews are also on a pass-fail basis. Failure to provide a DUNS number may result in your response being disqualified. Failure to provide a completed PDAA may also result in your response being disqualified. And lastly, only responses that receive the passing grade will proceed to the next evaluation phase. And then moving on to RFO section 4.2.2, the weighted evaluation criteria. This includes the pricing sheet, which is Exhibit E. The weight put on this exhibit is 40%. The respondent history and experience, Exhibit B, and again, all these are being scored. Exhibit B has a weight of 30%. And then respondents contract marketing and customer support plan Exhibit C will also carry a weight of 30%. Next slide, please. All right, so now we'll talk about cover the contract a little bit, some details on the contracts. Next slide, please. All right, so term of contract, which is section 2.6 of the RFO. The term of any contract awarded from this RFO shall be 2 years commencing on the last date of approval by DIR and the vendor. The contract will renew automatically in one optional 2-year renewal and one optional 1-year renewal under the same terms and conditions, unless either party provides a notice to the other party within 60 days or 6 days in advance of the renewal date stating that the party wishes to discuss modification of the terms and not renew in the same terms and conditions. And then moving on to option to extend. So the successful respondent agrees that DIR may require continued performance under this contract at the rate specified in this contract following the expiration date of the initial term or any renewal term. This option may be exercised more than once, but the total extension of performance hereunder shall not exceed 90 calendar days. Such extension of services shall be subject to the requirement of the contract with the sole and limited exception that the original date of termination shall be extended pursuant to this provision. Lastly, DIR may exercise this option upon 30 calendar days written notice to the successful respondent. Next slide, please. All right, so RFO schedule, next slide, please. Okay, so section 3.3 of the RFO, this contains the anticipated schedule of events. So as you can see here, the RFO was published on ESPD on June 19th. And of course, today, July 9th, we're having the pre-proposal webinar. July 14th, the deadline for submitting vendor questions will end at 5 p.m. So the deadline is at 5 p.m. on July 14th. The deadline to receive vendor references as well as deadline for submitting RFO responses to the RFO is August 6, 2025 at 2 p.m. And then lastly, the evaluation responses or any possible orientation or presentations, negotiations, or contract extensions or contract executions. And that will begin on August 1st until completed. Or actually, that should be August 12th. Sorry, not the 1st. That should be August 12th. Next slide, please. All right, now I'm going to turn it over to Teresa, our Hub Director, who will go into more detail about the Hub subcontracting.
Thank you, Scott. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Teresa Williamson. I'm the Director of the Hub program here at DIR. So let's talk about the importance of submitting a completed signed HSP. Next slide, please. All vendors, Hub and non-Hub, are required to complete and sign a Hub subcontracting plan, also known as your HSP. Please visit the link that's provided for you here. It's the most currently approved HSP copy. You will be required to download the form and complete it. Please remember not to modify the form or to export it into another form. This copy is an editable form and it's owned and managed by the Comptroller's Office. Next slide. Again, all respondents are required to submit a completed signed HSP. Failure to submit a completed signed HSP will cause your response to be rejected. This is a pass or fail item, like Scott said. There are 3 ways to complete your HSP. The first is to meet or exceed your Hub goal and complete Method A, to not meet your Hub goal and complete Method B, and the third is to self-perform. Next slide. The Hub goal for this RFO is 21.1%. If your proposed subcontracting meets or exceeds the 21.1% Hub goal, you'll complete Method A. Be sure to identify all Hub and non-Hub vendors that you will be subcontracting with. Include the anticipated dollar amounts and expected percentages. So when completing Method A, you'll complete sections 1, 2, 4, and Method A Attachment A. Next slide. If you're going to subcontract below the Hub goal, you'll complete Method B. Be sure to solicit a minimum of 3 Hub certified companies and 2 minority trade organizations. With the good Method B good faith effort, you must allow them 7 working days to respond to you prior to the due date of this RFO. Include your outreach to these entities with your HSP submission. So when completing Method B, you'll complete sections 1, 2, 4, and Method B Attachment B. Again, don't forget to include those approximate dollar amounts and percentages. Please allow yourself plenty of time to complete your Method B good faith effort. Please remember that the date that you send out any correspondence is considered day 0. Also, the Hub office will provide you with the courtesy review of your completed HSP at any time as time permits prior to the due date of the RFO. We've seen many companies submit an incomplete Method B good faith effort and fail because of it. So please give yourself plenty of time when you're completing this method to follow the instructions. Next slide. If you will be self-performing, you'll complete sections 1, 2, 3, and 4. In your self-performing justification, you identify how your company will fulfill a contract with its own current staff, equipment, and resources. Please don't say that you'll subcontract in the future, or if you need to, you'll just simply tell us how you plan to self-perform a contract should you be awarded. Next slide. On the DIR YouTube channel, you'll find these 3 links. These 3 links are to the resources available to you to walk you through the process of completing an HSP using the methods that we just talked about. Next slide. And here are some continued support tools. It's just most common errors. But please make sure that you're using your resources, the resources that have been provided for you. Next slide. My contact information's here. Again, we will provide you with a complimentary or courtesy review of your HSP prior to the due date of the RFO as time permits. You must contact us no later than 10 days prior to the due date of the RFO, and that's business days, please. So please take advantage of that review. And remember, when corresponding with the hub office, to make sure that you're including the procurement lead, which is Scott, on all of your correspondence. Thank you. Next slide. And I'll turn it over to Vanya. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you all are staying dry and safe. I hear the thunders outside my house. Scary out there. I'm going to talk about the pricing form and how you're going to submit your price for this solicitation. It's very important to pay attention to this section because this is 40% of your score. So it's important that you do it right. And to help you, we're going to go through it very in step by step to help you out. Okay, next slide. So if you're reading section 2.3 of the RFO, it explains to you about pricing, what we expect from you to do. So we are going to make sure that you respond to all the products that you are planning to sell through this solicitation to our customers, okay? It's important that you do not put any provisions in there about price, about risk, about liability, or other reasoning in your pricing form. It is important that you provide us with a filled out, completed form for us to be able to do our evaluations correctly, okay? So it's important to have specific pricing. It's important to have all the information required in every single field of all the forms. Another thing that needs to be important is about the discounts. You need to make sure to provide good discounts. Don't say you're going to provide a minimum discount to negotiate later. Remember, this is your scoring point. So you want to make sure you provide us the best discount you can for your business. We don't want you guys to go out of business, but we want to make sure we get a good offer, okay? The next thing is we're going to evaluate the response on your price discount per brand. You are going to provide us with a Exhibit E pricing sheet, which is a spreadsheet. And you are also going to create a pricing form in our VIS portal, Bidstamp, and we will walk you through how to do both of these. No, you cannot respond with just one of them. You have to enter both. You have to provide us a spreadsheet in Excel format. Don't PDF it, attach it to your response, upload it. And you have to create a pricing form in the system with the information we are going to show you, okay? You do not going to enter every single piece of equipment, every single item you sell. That is not what we're asking you to enter into the VIS portal. So we're going to be very detailed for you. Next slide. So the itemized pricing form is your spreadsheet, and we're asking you to not delete the formulas. Do not change the formulas. And we'll show you, just copy and paste the formula. It's already there for you. It's calculating correctly. We made sure of it. If it's not calculating correctly, please let us know. Scott will guide you to me, or he will help you. But those spreadsheets should be good for you to use. And I strongly recommend you start with the spreadsheet, because then tab 3 will help you doing the data entry into the portal, okay? So I always recommend you start with the spreadsheet, okay? Also, we're going to go through every single one of the items that you can do. Now, let's talk about leasing. It's law enforcement. There will be some leasing that some people are going to offer leasing. What important thing to remember is whether you're leasing hardware, software, equipment, or a combined package, okay? Leases do not carry a discount. In general, it is a zero discount. We get that. What you're going to do is you're going to provide the customer with a discount for each item within their package. Then you're going to total that, and you're going to divide it by the number of months that the customer is going to lease it from, and then you're going to apply your formula. And that's what we want to see. We want to see what formula you are going to apply to the leasing packages. And you're going to enter that on tab 2A or 2B, depending on what you are offering to lease, okay? And you will, remember, you will submit pricing 2 ways, and you are not going to be redundant. You will not have to enter the same information twice. And I will show you why that is a fact. Next slide. So we're going to have a tab 1 is your instructions, which I'm going to go through it here, but it's there. You can read it. You can listen to this presentation again if you need more information. Tab 2 is for your hardware and miscellaneous equipment detail. So you're going to list all the items that you plan to sell on the hardware and miscellaneous equipment, such as cameras, surveillance, all the other little things that goes with law enforcement. No guns. I don't think this cover guns. Okay, guys, this is for technology purchase, just to make sure we are in the same page. Are y'all awake? Tab 2B is for software products detail, okay? And so you're going to provide us with software that either is going to be sold as a service or as a license, and it's going to be part of the equipment that you're selling as well, okay? And then tab 3 is the tab I've been telling you about. We're going to help you fill out this page with the information from tab 2A and 2B, and then a very summarized tab for you to data entry into the system, VIS portal. Tab 4 is for service. Tab 5 is for related services, and I'll go down each one of these tabs and what they look like for you. And tab 6 is for your volume discounts, okay? Next slide. So this is what your pricing sheet tab 1 looks like. So tab 2A and 2B, I'm going to tell you exactly what's under there for these structures, just that was very big. Tab 3, tab 4, it tells you exactly what I'm telling you now, how to put your information in there. Now, I want to talk to you about brand average and brand names. Okay, so that's very important. Next slide. Okay, so these are some of the notes about tab 1 for tab 2A and 2B that you need to remember. Okay. Price to DR customers shall include all shipping and handling fees. All of our customer shipping price is FOB destination. So, and I understand sometimes with hardware, this is tricky because of the zip code and shipping, all that, but you will provide us your best price. And you just got to remember when you quote to our customers, it has to include all the fees, okay? Additional rows may be added. So as I told you before, don't delete the form, just copy and paste to the new, as many lines as you need. Okay, you're going to enter discounts in the automated pricing form in bid stamps, and it's coming from tab 3. And this is an average discount. Okay, accessibility information can be attached to columns F and G of tab 2A and 2B for the hardware and the software. The VATSR is totally different. It gets sent out separately. Also, it is a choice to attach these documents to your pricing form. If it gets too big or if it gets too cumbersome, you are welcome to send these forms separately, okay? Do not enter prices for services in the VIS portal, and my instructions will be very clear on tab 3. And the reason is we don't evaluate services at this level, okay? We evaluate service differently. So in the system itself, we just need all the software and hardware, tab 2A and 2B. If there are any question or any additional guidance that you need, please contact Scott, and he will contact me if we need to set up a time and walk you through this. I prefer that you ask for help than for me to spend days fixing your pricing form for you, okay? So please, if you have any problems, just call and ask for help, or ask for sending questions, and we'll try to answer them as well. So over here, I'm just repeating the leasing information I just told you. Okay, next slide. And you are not entering any leasing formula into the VIS portal either. Okay, so this is what your tab 2A looks like. These are just two examples, and you're just going to keep adding lots of lines below here. So brand name, the important thing to remember about brand names, please don't create your own brand names. Use the brand names that are out in the market. Sony is spelled S-O-N-Y, right? Don't spell S-O-N-I-E, because the system is going to have problems with that, and then we're going to have to go in and fix it. So make sure your brand spellings are based on what the industry spelling of that brand is, okay? You're going to enter your category. It's either hardware or miscellaneous equipment. Those are your only two choices for categories, okay? Your subcategory is what the item does. So is it a camera? Is it a server? What exactly is it you're selling? Is it security equipment? Cable? What is that function? Where's that subcategory of what you're proposing? Then your product description is just your product description that you're putting on this line. Your part number, self-explanatory. Now your VADSER, it goes right there. So you can tell us if it's included or it is attached, or if you're putting in separately or not applicable. Either way, it's good. You don't have to do this. You can choose to send it separately, or you can send it here. You are going to choose, are you a reseller or are you a manufacturer of the products you're selling? Your MSRP or your list price. Make sure you tell us which one you're using. And then your discount. And the last column, you don't touch it. It's a formula. It's just the way we want it. And we don't want you to change it. Don't erase it. Don't put in your own administrative fee. Don't add taxes. Don't change the formula. Just copy and paste to the next line as you add your lines. The one thing I want you to know about your hardware and miscellaneous equipment is you do not need to enter every SKU on your brands, every product on your product line. What you need to do here is think about what discounts does the hardware say. I'm selling Sony, for example. So I have cameras, I have monitors, I have maybe TVs for the that goes into the monitors, that goes into the cars, the police cars, all of those things, right? Well, they don't all come in the same discounts. Maybe the servers are 10% and the cameras are 5%. And those are example, right? But they're all the same brand. So you're going to list all the same brand, everything that has different discounts. So when you average your discounts, there'll be a line and you're going to average the discounts of that brand, all the discounts that are possible within that brand. Then you're going to go to the next brand and do the same thing. And there are brands that everything is just one discount. So all you need is a one line, one product to show us the pricing and one discount. Okay. So that's the key to this page. Next tab. Next slide. So over here, we're going to talk about software. Yes, some equipment, some hardware is going to come with software. It's going to come with operating systems. But there are software in law enforcement that doesn't come with the equipment, that is required for software. So there's inventory, asset management, contract monitoring. There's all kinds of software that are related to law enforcement. So, and software comes in two ways for us. One is software as a service, which is a SaaS, and the other is software license. So software as a service, I'm subscribing, I'm accessing through the web, and I'm getting into your software product, right? Software license, you're going to send it to me, or I'm going to download into my own equipment, my own server. I am getting a license. And then there's a variety of these that mix and match as well. But those are the two categories we want to see here. What you go into subcategory, now you're going to tell me the function of the software. So if I'm buying Fortinet, that's a cybersecurity or a security. If I'm getting some type of other software, maybe it's a surveillance software, maybe is a management software, asset management software, or, you know, they have scanner software. All of those types of software that goes here that not necessary is an iOS that goes inside of an equipment, okay? So those are the ones you sell in addition to what comes with the hardware, right? So over here, the key to this is function, okay? We need to know what the software does, right? And then the other lines are the same as the products. You're gonna have your reseller or manufacturer, our MSRP or price or list price, your discount, and your formula column, which you will not touch. You're just gonna copy and paste, right? And then your product discount. And again, with software, you're gonna do the same thing as I told you about the products. You're gonna go, say Fortinet has 3 or different discounts. So you're gonna list Fortinet as a brand 3 to 4 times. You're gonna list the products with the different discounts, and then you're gonna average the Fortinet software discount. Same thing, you're gonna do the same thing for the next one and the next one. Now, I understand that if you go SaaS sales on discount, licensing is another discount, same brand, then you average the for that brand, okay? So once you complete tab 2A and 2B, you're gonna have a list of brands and you're gonna have a line with all of the averages that you have. So that's the line you wanna remember. Now we're gonna go to next slide, tab 3. So this is the document that you are gonna, when you're done with this part, this is the document you're gonna have in front of you to do your data entry into the VIS portal. I put it here just the way you need it so that you can data entry directly from here to save you time. But you need to make sure that your numbers match. So software, brand X has an average discount. Brand X hardware has a different discount, and so on and so forth, okay? And you shouldn't have the same brand 3 times with 3 different discounts, because we told you to average the brand discount. Each brand should stand by itself with 1 average discount, okay? Same thing with your miscellaneous equipment. By brand, by average. So if you're selling radios from 3 different brands, you're gonna have 3 brands with radios listed with 3 different average discounts for radios because you're selling them on different brands. The key to the VIS portal is brands, brand name. Spell it correctly based on the industry standards, okay? And you can also put in a turnkey solution option into the bid stamp with an option for discount if you want to. This is not required, it's just an option, okay? If you are going to sell turnkey solution package, which includes everything, and you want to give additional discount for that, you can add that, which says various brands, okay? So if you have question, because this is a very important tab, because it will help you upload the information to the VIS portal. And if it's correct here, then it will be correct on the portal, so it will come out with your score. That's why this is so critical. Next slide. So here's tab 4 and 5. These are services. So what's the difference between 4 and 5? Services. Services are provided by you, the prime vendor, your resellers, or your subcontractors. This is service such as installation, project management, technical experts, business analysis, everything that goes with software and equipment delivery, not delivery, installation, okay, implementation. Those kinds of services are done by you as the prime contractor, or your subs or your resellers, right? Depending which way you have your agreements. Related services are services to be sold by the manufacturer. This is maintenance and support, usually have a SKU number, usually comes from the manufacturer and you manage it. Sometimes you buy it, you sell it through the manufacturer, but you provide the service, but it's still coming from the manufacturer, okay? Not from you. But if you also provide services, say for a brand that you are certified to provide maintenance and support, that will go under tab 4 because you are providing the services. Okay, hardware maintenance and support usually comes from a manufacturer. Training sometimes comes from manufacturers, sometimes comes from you. It all depends. So this is how you separate these two tabs. Okay, next tab, next slide. Volume discount is optional. Okay, and this is simply because you need to understand that DIR is negotiating discounts based on what our program sales are, our big volume. Our customers are going to negotiate with you based on their actual volume, real cash. They're buying something. They have more power to negotiate. If you want to establish your discounts up front, you can provide it here and it will go part of your contract. If you don't have to, it is not a required. However, you must understand our customers will negotiate better discounts. Okay, next slide. So this is what the bid stamp pricing screen is going to look like. So you're going to go into the bid stamp later on. I'm going to walk you to the VIS portal and I will show you where the form is that you're going to push the button and say, create your pricing form. This is what you're going to see. And you're going to look at your tab 3 and you're going to enter your brand, your category first. Is it software? Is it hardware? Is it miscellaneous equipment? Those are your 3 options. Brand name, what the brand is, what the product description is. Is this case management software or is it varies? If it varies, if your average covers a bunch of types of functions and descriptions, then just say varies. Okay, your product number is going to always be NA, always be NA. Okay, then you're going to select manufacturer reseller again, and then you're going to put your average discount under the discount tab. Average discount, which we talked about earlier. You're going to create as many lines as you need, depending on how many brands you're selling and how many types of categories within that brand you have. Okay, but always an average discount. Okay, this makes this data entry a lot simpler and you don't have to worry about entering 2,000 items in here. So don't do that. We just want the average brand discount. Okay, next slide. All right, now I'm going to pass it out to Marie so she can talk to you guys about accessibility.
Thank you, Vanya. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marie Cohan. I lead the statewide digital accessibility program for Texas. Next slide, please. So just a little bit about digital accessibility. It's the practice of designing and building technology that removes barriers for people with disabilities that prevent interaction with or access to our websites, digital tools, and technologies. These tools and technologies include products, services, communications, and related supporting documentation or deliverable documents. The governance for this is Texas Government Code 2054, Texas Administrative Codes 206 and 213, and we follow the World Wide Web Consortium, or WCAG 2.1 AA technical standards. We request this documentation now, but please be aware that vendors must provide the required accessibility documentation at the time of a request in an accessible format. So what that means is any time during the life of the contract, if one of our customers requests updated documentation, we ask that you provide that for them. We know that technologies change over time, and as they change, they should have updated documentation. Digital accessibility also includes electronic and information resources and information and communications technologies. Next slide, please. So I'm going to go over the 3 documents that are covered under digital accessibility: the Policy-Driven Adoption for Accessibility, or PDAA, the Vendor Accessibility Development Services Information Request, or VADSR, and the Accessibility Conformance Report, or ACR, which is also a completed VPAT. Some of you may be more familiar with the VPAT term. Next slide, please. So I'll start with the Policy-Driven Adoption for Accessibility, or PDAA. This is a required document. This document is not contingent on any of your product or service offerings in your response. This is a self-assessment of your organization, the responding organization, to help us see where you are on your digital accessibility journey, how mature your accessibility practices are. It is a spreadsheet that is included in the solicitation packet. You will respond to the questions with a numeric value of 0, 1, 2, or 3. Please do not put X's or check marks in the spreadsheet. We need it to total at the bottom. The total at the bottom corresponds to the PDAA maturity matrix to help you understand where you are from an accessibility maturity standpoint. This document can also be used as a roadmap to help your organization move further into an accessibility maturity plan. Again, this is required. If this document is missing, if it's incomplete, or if it has a 0 score, the whole accessibility portion will fail. I would like to just point out that when you look at your internal processes, even if they're very immature, very early stage, you should be able to score higher than 0 for your final score. Next slide, please. This is the PDAA maturity matrix that I mentioned. It has 3 maturity levels: the launch level, which is early stage maturity; the integrated level, which is more of an intermediate stage where you have some set policies and practices in place. They may be documented as well. And then the optimized, which is the best or highest level of maturity. You have policies and processes in place for all of your business practices. They're documented, they're repeatable, they're auditable. That's the ideal scenario to have. Links to this maturity matrix are below on the slide. Next slide, please. So next we'll talk about Accessibility Conformance Report, or a completed VPAT. The VPAT is just a template that's been developed by the Information Technology Industry Council. We use that VPAT to test products and see how they conform to WCAG standards. And what you put on the VPAT is the conformance level, which is support or partially supports or not supported. And then you can provide an explanation. The VPAT also requests information on your product and how it was tested. DIR does require we use VPATs 2.4 or higher for your submissions. If you are a reseller, you can get the ACRs for your products from the manufacturer. If you submit an ACR URL, which is acceptable, the URL must go directly to the ACR, to an HTML page or to a PDF document with the ACR. We will not accept URLs that take us to an accessibility statement or to a manufacturer's website that lists all of their different products and ACRs that are available. So please make sure if you're submitting a URL for your ACR that it does go directly to the ACR. The ACR is only for products, not for development services. I get this question a lot. What if I am not putting any products forth? What if I'm just a services company? Then if there are no products on your pricing sheet, you will not submit any ACRs. You do need to submit an ACR for every single product, even if they're in the same grouping or family. If they're different versions of the product, then they should have a different ACR for each of those. Next slide, please. These are the different principles and standards for WCAG. There are 4 principles: perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. Under each of those principles, we have the different standards, and for each of those standards, there's expected success criteria. When you test your product, you'll be testing against these standards and the accompanying success criteria, and you'll document how your product conforms. There is a link to the new WCAG 2.1 AA success criteria at the bottom of this page for your reference. Next slide, please. These are the conformance levels when you test your product. It will be either supports with exceptions, does not support, maybe it's not applicable, maybe it was not evaluated because it's at too high of a level. So I'd like to point out two more things related to ACRs. One, all state agencies are allowed to adopt a higher standard. So even though we are looking at WCAG 2.1 AA, we do have customer agencies that are at WCAG 2.2 AA. So please be aware of that, and that is their prerogative. We also, when evaluating the ACR, we look at the testing method used. If the testing method used says general product knowledge, the ACR will be scored lower. So we are looking for how the product was actually tested. Was it tested with automated scanning? Was manual testing used, like keyboard-only navigation? Was any assistive technology used, like a screen reader, like JAWS or NVDA? Please document that when you are completing the VPAT, or look for that when you're requesting the ACR from the manufacturer. Next slide, please. So next we'll talk about vendor accessibility development services information request. These are for development only services or any type of material customization. Let's say you're working on a specific platform that you're able to build applications on. You would then submit this form. The purpose of this form is to help us understand how your developers are trained, how you incorporate digital accessibility into the development lifecycle, etc. So there are 6 questions that we would like answered on this form. Next slide, please. And I will explain what each of these questions are, because we do see some confusion when vendors are responding on this particular form. I will also caution to please not copy and paste documentation that you find on the internet. We do notice those, they stand out because of the terminology used. So please just complete this form based on your own practices within your organization. So what we're looking for in question 1 is, during product development and the project management phases, what do those processes look like for you? How are you incorporating digital accessibility into those different life cycles? How are you incorporating it for testing purposes? Is it done at each sprint, etc.? So that's what we're looking for in question number 1. On question number 2, we would like to know how your developers are trained. Do they go to internal training, external training? What kind of other resources do you use? Maybe on-demand sites for training like DQ. What kind of topics are they trained on? Just fill out as much detail as you can regarding how your developers are trained. Development and testing tools is question number 3. What we're looking for here is, what type of testing tools are you using? What type of development tools are you using with regard to digital accessibility? What do those testing methodologies look like? Again, is it automated scanning? Does it include manual testing? Does it include testing with assistive technology? Are you testing iteratively through every sprint cycle? Or are you only testing on the back end? These are all things that we need to know, because they will impact the project. Question number 4 is looking for documenting, tracking, and resolving issues and defects. So what do those processes look like? What kind of tools are you using to track those defects? Tell us how you remediate those defects in the life cycle. So that is what we're looking for on question number 4. On question number 5, we're looking for how you're going to support the product. So if there is a defect at any point in time for one of our customers or for a Texan that needs to be addressed, what kind of support can you provide? Is there an alternate way to convey that information? Is there a workaround within the application? Do you have a support line where you can help the customer agency? So please fill that out with that information. And then question number 6 is asking for sample work. We understand that sample work cannot always be provided. So what, in that case, we'll look at your website for your company. If you are familiar with digital accessibility methodologies and development and testing tools, then we make the assumption that that will also convey to your own business and your own website. And we will go and look at your website and do some testing there just to see what accessibility looks like. Next slide, please. We currently have accessibility training for vendors at no cost to them. So if you're new to digital accessibility or want to learn more about the procurement process and incorporating digital accessibility products, making sure your technologies meet digital accessibility compliance. You can attend these 4 classes. They're about 45 to 60 minutes each. They're not very complicated, and it's really there just to help you understand better as you're moving through the solicitation process for the state of Texas. Next slide, please. If you would like to sign up for that training, this is the link that you will go to. It will require an access code, which we have provided here. If you have any difficulty signing up, if you need any kind of support, you can email me at statewide-accessibility@dir.texas.gov. Always remember to copy the procurement lead, who is Scott in this particular solicitation. Next slide, please. These are some additional resources for you that are on our website. These templates are also included in your solicitation packet. I did not mention earlier, but I also do courtesy reviews like the Hub team. They need to be submitted no later than 10 days before the response due date. We will only do courtesy reviews on a VADSR and on a PDAA, and we will only do 1 courtesy review for each of those documents. So if you submit those documents and you hear back from my team with our feedback, and you go and complete the documents again or update them, we cannot do an additional review for you. So please try to fill those out to the very best of your ability before you submit them for a courtesy review. Next slide, please. So again, if you have any questions, if you need a courtesy review, if you need support signing up for vendor training, you can reach me at statewide accessibility, all one word, at dir.texas.gov, and you must copy the procurement lead on that communication. If the procurement lead is not included, I will ensure that they are included on my response. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.
All right, everybody, thank you so much. I will now come in to go over some general information with this solicitation. Next slide, please. All right, so some things that we'd like to highlight here is please reference the RFO page numbers and section numbers when submitting questions in the BidStamp VIS system. Webinar participants may submit questions electronically at any time during this webinar. Please use the questions tab, as I see several of you guys are doing. Thank you for doing that. Also, questions answered today are unofficial until posted on the ESBD in the form of an addendum. Then check the ESBD often for updates, as we will be issuing addendums periodically throughout the RFO or while it's posted. Please do not enter multiple questions into the VIS portal under one single entry. So there, in other words, there should be, for every question you have, you should have a independent entry for each question. Particularly if you have like 3 or 4 questions, make sure they are all listed separately for us. It helps us in terms of submitting them and getting the questions answered for you more efficiently. All questions regarding this RFO must be submitted in writing through the BidStamp Vendor Information System portal, also known as VIS, as you've heard us refer to it, by July 14th, 2025 at 5 p.m. So that is the deadline for vendors to submit questions in the BidStamp VIS. Next slide, please. All right, so to cover some disqualification of offers scenarios, failure to sign respondent certification form, Exhibit A, as I mentioned earlier, failure to complete financial information, the DUNS number. So if by not providing the DUNS number in the response certification form with your RFO response, that is a disqualification. Failure to complete a hub subcontracting plan is also a disqualification. Failure to complete and submit Exhibit H, the policy-driven adoption for accessibility, PDAA, as Maria was explaining to you a few minutes ago, or submit a form with a 0 score or submitting it blank. So all of the scenarios for the PDA will result in a disqualification. And then failure to submit on or before the due date in time is a disqualification, and that is no exceptions. This is where I always like to tell vendors and remind them, please do not wait till the last minute to start submitting and uploading your response documents in Bitstamp. There are times that we have had issues with so many vendors submitting responses and so many documents. Please start doing this well ahead of time, so in case you do encounter issues, we have plenty of time to work with you and help however we can before that provided deadline. And then lastly, contact with any DIR employees regarding this RFO other than the designated contact, which would be myself, is also grounds for a disqualification. And then under delivery of offers, any vendor responding to this RFO must submit their response through the Bitstamp VIS, as Vanya was visiting with you guys in depth a while ago about. Next slide, please. All right, so now to cover a little bit about the NIGP code selection and how it's associated to the negotiation phase. So the state of Texas uses the NIGP, which stands for, most of you guys probably know this, but National Institute for Governmental Purchasing, the commodity codes to categorize the goods and services. They also they help the public procurement professionals accurately identify as the interested vendors. If selected for negotiations, it is important that the respondent select all applicable NIGP codes for their offer, as state agencies will use them to accomplish competitive bidding once your contracts have been completed and are active and live in our system. And then lastly, the list of available NIGP codes for this RFO can be found on page 2 and will be made available for selection after the respondent moves to the negotiation phase. Next slide, please. All right, now Vanya is going to talk a little bit about the four-way match system.
So, there we go. So, me again. Now, so guys, it's very important to understand that in order for you to pass the financial criteria for this RFO requirements, you must have a three-way match. That is critical. I like a four-way match because if three-way is needed, four-way is better, right? Always better. So the one thing you need to remember, your Exhibit A, which is your response document, that document is your company data, is what you tell us who you are, who we're going to do business with. Well, that information needs to match your registration because that's the same company. At least I hope it is. So the key here is Exhibit A and the Duns and Bradstreet record must match Duns number, company name exactly as you put it on Exhibit A should be on Duns and Bradstreet. If there's a DBA and the DBA is not registered, it's not going to be there. So don't put it on your Exhibit A. Exhibit A should be your registered name, legal company name, okay? Not how you call yourself for marketing purpose, your real legal name, okay? So Duns Bradstreet address all the way to the suite number, to the zip code must match Exhibit A, okay? Based on your Duns number. I do know Duns and Bradstreet do create a Duns number per location. So for example, IBM probably have 3 or 4 or 5, 6 different facilities that might have different Duns number. However, their corporate company, which is who we're going to do business with, is the Duns and address we're looking for, the legal company name, okay? The Bitstamp Salesforce account should match your Exhibit A and your Duns and Bradstreet. So that's your three-way. My four-way is Secretary of State registration. That is a requirement for us to write a contract with you. You do not need to be registered in the state of Texas to apply to this solicitation. However, you must have one in order to receive a contract. Next slide. So here you go. You got your company name, including DBA if it is legally registered. You got your company corporate address, and you got your company FIN and your company DUNS. That's the match we need to see. Okay, next slide. All right, Scott, you want to take over from here?
Sure, absolutely. All right, so on this slide, we're going to discuss real quickly about uploading and naming convention for the response documents. This table essentially represents the required RFO response files and can be found in section 3.7.4 of the RFO. And as you looking at the table, the RFO reference section that basically lists all of the RFO exhibits and where they could be found within the RFO document. So this will be, if you're forgetting where these are discussed, please go to this slide, which will provide an addendum, and this will quickly allow you to find these sections where they're discussed thoroughly in the RFO. And then real quickly on the right column, the form of response, I'd like to point out that the ABC abbreviation is essentially your company initials. So this is the form that we request that you upload and use for your naming convention when uploading your response files into the Bitstamp BIS. Next slide, please. All right, so some available tools to help with responding documents as well as the Bitstamp process. There are two really good trainings that Vanya did back on October of last year in 2024. And these are the YouTube links that will take you to those trainings. The first one is responding to co-op solicitations, which is session 1. And then session 2 also covers the responding to co-op solicitations, but it goes much more in depth into the actual Bitstamp submissions process and everything that you need to be aware of and the steps and requirements that you need to take. So I highly recommend all vendors that are going to respond to this RFO, please go to these trainings in YouTube and watch both of these trainings. I believe it will thoroughly help you with understanding the process if you're not familiar, as well as a refresher with the Bitstamp VIS submittal process. Next slide, please. All right, so respondents and all respondent representatives shall not attempt to discuss the contents of this RFO with any employees or representatives of DIR other than the designated contacts. Failure to observe this restriction may result in disqualification of any related response. I realize we discussed this a little earlier, but we really like to highlight this because this is a big deal. So please make sure that you do follow this process. Next slide, please. All right, now Vanya is going to join us again to discuss the submittal process with the VIS portal.
So as we explained before, we are going to respond to this RFO, and you're going to upload your documents in our solicitation portal, which we call VIS or Bitstamp, and we'll be talking about that. Now, I'm going to cover what I call a summary of how to do this. That October 11th session 2 walks you how to set up an account, how to upload your documents, why you name your documents a certain way, what's the size of your documents. It goes into super detail, and if you don't want to miss anything, that's what you get most of your information. We don't have enough time here for me to give you a full Bitstamp training, but I will go over the highlights. Okay, next step. So Anybody responding to this RFO is going to submit it to the system. We talked about that again. Over here, you have a link to the Bitstamp account, so where you log in. Okay, if you already have an account. If you don't, then you need to submit to request an account, which the link is down here. Okay, so remember, don't request a new account 3 or 2 days before the opening of the RFO. It takes at least 7 days to get that set up. So I strongly recommend you do it sooner than later. Okay, next slide. Oh, and don't forget to use your legal name when setting up your Bitstamp account. Okay, so persons with disability, if the system, you cannot submit your proposal via the system, please contact Scott and give us at least 5 days to provide you accommodations. Okay, next slide. All right, so if you are a brand new vendor and you do not have an account and you do not know how to get to the Bitstamp system, you're going to go into our DIR website. You're going to go where it says selling through DIR and you're going to click on that. Next page. Next slide. So you're going to scroll down and you're going to go into schedule of solicitation opportunities. And you're going to click that and you're going to scroll down. Next slide. And then you're going to come to the screen. And then you can log on or you can ask for access. Okay. The PDF document, I don't believe that one is there anymore. That's why we have the video now. Okay. This is slide. Next slide. All right, so once you're in Bitstamp, you're going to log in. This is what you're going to see. Your username, your password. Remember, your username and password is by person, not by company. Okay, and you have a limit number of people that can have accounts within the same company. So watch the video. It goes through how to set up your account. Next slide. So when you go in, you're going to see this. Okay, and what you're going to do is you can do several things on the screen. You can, update your account. You can look at your responses. You can read about DIR. You can contact DIR. However, what you really want on this screen is the open solicitations. You're going to click on that. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. So now when you click on that, you're going to see all of our open solicitations. You're going to select 594. So you're going to scroll down till you find 594. Don't believe we have that many out there, so it won't have to be that much scrolling down. But you're going to find 594. Okay, you can filter up here for it, or you can go by the name, law enforcement, on the L's. Either way, you can find it. Okay, and you're going to click on it so it can open a page for you of that RFO. Next slide. So over here is our RFO page. So imagine that up here it says DIR-CPO-TMP-594. System's been around a while. So you're going to see the screen. You got your respond to solicitation. That's where you click to start responding. Ask a question. That's where you're going to go ask questions. And remember, every question that you initiate gives you a question number. Don't get 100 questions in one number, because when we put out an addendum, you can't find your answers because there's too many questions under one number. So always make sure you get one entry per question. Okay. And then subscribe to solicitation. You're going to subscribe for this solicitation. Then you will get notices through the system, and make sure to check your spam folders when we do addendums. When we post an addendum, you'll get a notice. Okay. Now remember, that's something DIR does as an extra, is we go above and beyond keeping vendors informed. But it's your responsibility to continue to check the ESPD. Okay. And then you're going to view solicitation documents. That is a link to the ESPD. DIR does not upload our solicitation documents into the Bitstamp. The law requires that those documents be in the ESPD and that you download it from there. Okay. So there you have your questions and your information when the RFO is opening. And you need to make sure that it's under posted, right? And over here, as you enter your questions, you're going to see them listed there for you. Okay. We will not answer any questions through the system. All questions will be answered through an addendum and posted to the ESPD. Next slide. Okay. So important things to remember. The buttons that you want to make sure, respond to solicitation. That's where you go and you create your solicitation. You put your data information, you start uploading your documents. Okay, the next button is ask a question. We talked about that. What we do to subscribe a solicitation so you can get notices. And you're going to view documents that navigate you through the ESPD posting, which by today, I expect all of you already downloaded those documents, right? Just letting you know, it would be fun. Just saying. Next slide. All right, so here's another place where we got more information. These are kind of important buttons, I say, huh? So on this button right here says, response button says delete. Don't push that button unless you absolutely mean it. Because once you push it, it's gone. You got to start all over again, okay? Submit button, this is a critical button. And let me tell you why. If you start uploading a document at 158 and it takes a while for your internet to load that document and you come back to this page and that button disappear, that's because it's 2 o'clock and you no longer can add anything else to your response. It's too late. You miss the chance to submit. Even if you sat there for 2 hours uploading documents, but you didn't do it in time, there is no way for DIR. So don't send me an email that says, Vanya, please, can you push that button for me so my solicitation can be submitted? I cannot do that. So let's do it early, okay? Then we talked about ask a question button. We talked about creating a pricing form. This is the very important button. This is the button we talked about earlier. You're going to take tab 3 from the pricing sheet. You're going to go in here and you're going to push that button, create a pricing form. You're going to see that screen I showed you earlier, and you're going to start data entry your pricing form. And don't forget to save every time, okay? So that's where you find that create your pricing form right there, okay? And then you're going to start uploading your documents down here. Now, the uploading documents is very critical that you understand this. Your naming convention is there for a purpose. One, it helps you upload the correct documents. I cannot tell you how many times a vendor will upload and say Exhibit A, but they actually uploaded 2 Exhibit Cs and they get disqualified. Or they have 2 Exhibit A's, one is signed and the other one is not, and they upload the wrong one. So it is critical that you follow that naming convention, because when you're grabbing the document, it has the right name for you and you don't grab the wrong document. Always use the name convention at your final documents, not your draft documents, okay? And don't try to upload documents with the, right now, the ESPD has a new system. When you download a document, it creates a number to that file. It's a huge number. If you try to use the same document here, it's going to exceed the number of characters and it's going to reject your document. So use the name convention. There's a reason for that, okay? And then you can upload as many documents as you want. One thing that I like for you to do is, even if you don't want to watch the whole October 11th session 2 bid stamp section, fast forward to uploading documents, because there's new features that I can't show you here, where we actually show you the name of the document that you are uploading with the name of the document you selected, because there's a table that you're going to say, I'm uploading Exhibit A, I'm uploading Exhibit B, I'm uploading Exhibit C, and then it will show you the actual document. And before you press submit, you can double check that you're not uploading the wrong documents, okay? The next section you're going to see on Bitstamp is references. We don't recommend you use this. You can if you want. DIR does not guarantee that your customers are going to get that email. What we strongly recommend for you is that you send your reference documents to your customers and have them respond to the RFO email address and CC you so you know the reference was submitted. Then you don't have to send Scott email says, how do I get to know if my customer sent my references? That's how you know. Piece of cake. Try that. It works every time. Okay. Also, you need to remember when it's about reference, the Exhibit G, the release, is not for your customer to fill out. That form, the release, is for you to tell us that we can contact your customers. Okay. Not for them to give it to us, for you. Okay. Next slide. All right. Now I'll pass it over to Scott.
Thank you, Vanya. All right, so let's cover some mandatory submissions real quick. Next slide, please. All right, so I made reference to this earlier, but the mandatory response files and content can be found in RFO section 3.7.4, and the respondent must provide all these items listed below. And just reading down with the exhibits, it's Exhibit A, the response certification form. This form must be signed, as I had mentioned earlier. Exhibit A1, the exceptions table. Exhibit B, the respondent history and experience. Exhibit C, the contract marketing and customer support plan. Exhibit D, your hub subcontracting plan, which please make sure you use the correct form, which is to be downloaded from the CPA website. Exhibit E, the pricing sheet, which Vanya has gone over thoroughly for us. Exhibit F, the reference form. Again, vendor references should be submitted by your customers through the RFO email address provided in Exhibit F. Exhibit G, the respondent release and of liability for reference, which Vanya just mentioned at the end of her bid stamp portion. Exhibit H, the Edgar certification form. Exhibit I, the PDAA. Exhibit J, the accessibility conformance report, also known as ACRs or VPATs. And then Exhibit K, the Vendor Accessibility Development Services Information Request, also known as the VADSEER. Now, again, I would like to point out some important items here before we move on. For Exhibit A, there are no exceptions. The form must be signed. And in addition to required vendor certifications that must be acknowledged, the signature on Exhibit A is what allows your company to attest to the person signing the response and that they have the authority to bind your agency to a contract with DIR should your response be successful upon the completion of the contract of negotiations. All right. Secondly, on the itemized pricing sheet, please use the template provided and do not submit your own pricing list. Follow the instructions on tab 1 as Vanya detailed for us and upload the Excel spreadsheet as provided. Please do not convert this to a PDF as it will delay the negotiation process if you shall make it past evaluations. And then lastly, I'd like to point out that for vendor references, you can send these directly from your email to the company providing the reference for you, but they must be returned to DIR from the customer by the date and time stated on the reference form, as I had mentioned just a few minutes ago. You can also send these out from Bidstamp to your customers. If you use this option, you will not be able to see if the customer sent the reference form back to DIR. So I just wanted to point that out for the references. Next slide, please. All right, so one other really important section that I'd like to cover real quick is rejection of RFO responses. So section 3.8 of the RFO states the following. DIR reserves the right to reject any and all responses received as a result of this RFO. Responses that do not comply with the mandatory submission requirements may be rejected. In addition, DIR reserves the right to accept or reject in whole or in part any responses submitted and to waive minor and to waive minor technicalities when in the best interest of the state of Texas. Next slide, please. All right, we are going to take a quick 10-minute break. And again, for RFO questions, please reference the RFO section and page number with your submitted question. And again, questions answered today are unofficial until posted to the ESBD. Submit additional questions through the Bitstamp VIS after this conference. So we're going to take a quick 10-minute break. So we will be back at 3:50, and we will begin addressing as many questions as we can get through before 4 o'clock.
All right, it looks like we got a few questions in the Q&A box. So the first one is asking about for the reference forms, can we have 3 separate references from the same state agency?
So as far as the reference forms, we would prefer that your references are from different entities, just so we have a good assortment of reference information from your customers.
Okay. This one is a 2-part question. It's asking in Exhibit A number 1, please confirm taxpayer number is the same as CPA identification number.
So before we answer that one, I would like to say real quick that the questions that are entered here today do not need to be entered in Bitstamp. Once again, we do have record of your questions, and those will be part of Addendum 1. So you do not need to go in and re-enter those questions. So, all right. So to address Exhibit A, Part 1, in terms of the taxpayer number, Vanya, please correct me if I am wrong, but I do believe that is the same as the CPA identification number.
Yes, so you have your FIN number, your tax ID number. Sometimes if you take your tax ID number from the franchise tax, it starts with a 320. And sometimes if you get it from the CMBL, you start with a 1 plus your FIN number. As long as we have your FIN number and your tax ID number, we can work with it, but we need your FIN number, which is your federal tax ID number. It's a 9-digit number. That is the critical number we need.
All right.
The second part to that question is still in Exhibit A, number 9. Does each response, number 1 through 24, need to be responded to, or the signature at the end implies certifies?
So the signature on Exhibit A does imply that you adhere to these 24 requirements. You do not have to address them separately, but again, a signature is required on this form, and by providing that signature, you are saying that you are meeting all 24 requirements.
Okay. This one says UAS traffic management, UTM technology is not specifically listed, but is essential for scalable drone operations. Please clarify if UTM will be considered as a product, perhaps as a subset to one of the current categories for software.
Um, Bonnie, what do you think about that one?
I'm right now working on a software that has a drone software. So your software has to be embedded in the drone in order for your drone to function. Then that would be a hardware or a miscellaneous equipment, tab 2B, and you list that it comes with an operating software. And if the software is sold separately to manage multiple traffic drones, then you can list it in software as a license and state if it needs to be purchased with the